This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're taking a look at the Level 8 Roadrunner Pro carry-on, which I've been testing for the past 2 weeks. Let's dive in. So first things first, I'm actually going to stand up so I can bring this a little closer. We have German-made Macrolon polycarbonate. It's very lightweight, but also very durable. It does scuff up kind of easily, at least in my experience, but also cleans very easily. So putting this thing in and out of my trunk a few times, my trunk has like bars on the top, and I was worried that I had really damaged the material, but then just with like a sponge or a towel and water, it wiped off really easily. So pretty happy with the exterior. I think it looks sleek too. Sorry, a little off-centered there. But overall pretty happy with the exterior materials. They hold up pretty well, and just nothing really bad to report about it. So we have YKK zippers here. These pulls attach onto this locking mechanism here, and if you hit that, they pop off. They're a bit loud if you don't have them locked up, especially if you put them to the side or something like that. So I always tried to lock them up when I could. Let me put them back in place here. And pretty easy to lock there. We also have this little combination system, so if you were to change this, these are no longer going to pop off. There's also a front pocket, which we'll get into a little bit later, but there's a button to open that as well right here, and that will not open either if you do not have the code set. So now that'll pop open again, and it's not gonna, if someone really wants to get into your bag, they're gonna get into your bag, but it's one of those things that you don't have to necessarily make it so someone can't get into your bag, but just make it a deterrent, so maybe they'll try to get into someone else's bag, or they won't get into anybody's bag at all. So pretty happy with this system up here, and there's also a TSA lock, so TSA can get in there if they need to. We have handles on the side here and on the top, and I really dig these because they're pretty comfortable. I mean, there's no padding or anything like that. As you can see, they're very thin, but they're a little bit just softer than I'm used to seeing on other ones. It's almost like silicone-y plastic, a bit bendy, and they slide up like this, so when you grab them, you have a pretty good, maybe I'll show you from this camera here, so you can kind of get a bigger hand underneath here, and there's a little bit of a textured curve right there as well. So pretty comfortable and pretty easy to use, at least in my opinion. You got the two, and they're kind of out of the way when you're not using them, which is another perk in my opinion. On the bottom of the case here, as you can see, we have some 360 wheels. No issues with these so far. They're very, very smooth, and the transition between 2 wheels to 4 wheels is pretty good, at least in my opinion. No issues with durability or anything like that so far, and they've held up pretty well. As you can see, there's not really any big chunks taken out of them or anything like that. And one more thing to mention, we have the telescopic handle here. It's very wide, as you can see with my hand on it. Not a ton of padding or extra features, but overall pretty comfortable. So if you have found this video helpful so far, make sure you throw a like on this video and subscribe to the channel so we can continue making content like this to help you travel smarter. But now you can see I have it next to me. This is in the highest position for the telescopic handle, and it doesn't jiggle around very much, which I like. A lot of rolling luggage, even some of the nicer ones, they jiggle a little bit, and that doesn't really affect usage, but when I'm standing around, I'm typically fidgeting in some way or another, and that'll often lead to the handle, and it's kind of annoying for people around me. So I think that is a nice feature, at least for me personally. Again, it doesn't affect usage that much, but this thing does roll very smoothly on both 2 wheels and 4. This is carpet right here, so it's kind of hard to show you without actually walking across the frame. But very good on most materials. I have, on concrete, on the sidewalk, no real issues to report. We do have 4 different stops along the way here. So we have let me get you to the shortest one right here. That's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So pretty good amount of stops on the elevator taking you all the way up to the top here. So this one actually feels pretty perfect for me personally, and you can go all the way down to right here for shorter travelers. So overall, I think this thing does pretty well, and it just kind of carries pretty easily. And as always, with these hard-sided luggages, you can sit on them if you want to, pretty comfortable, and if you have a long day, this is kind of a nice thing to do. So this pack actually has a secondary compartment, which is not common at all for hard-sided rolling luggage. Had a bit of a brain fart there. So this is the front pocket here, and I actually didn't really have this issue until I really packed it out today to show you on camera, because I really wanted to show you everything this pack has to offer. When I was using it, I didn't have this issue, because I typically pack a little bit more minimalistically, and I didn't have as much stuff inside of here. So if you heard that, I'm sorry. They're emptying the dumpsters across the street. But to get into that front compartment, what you do is you obviously have the code set to whatever you set the code to. You can set this to whatever you want, and then you hit this button here. So you pop that open, and we have this compartment. not really a super easy way to show you this without kind of just leaning it, but we have a laptop compartment in there and then 2 pockets. Up here is obviously the laptop compartment. We have padding on this side and then padding right here as well, and then a hook and loop fastener strap right here to attach it so it can't, if you were to put this in the overhead compartment and obviously the plane's gonna be moving and stuff, your laptop can't slide out. I wish that this was more of a envelope style, so it was more covered, but I haven't had any issues with it coming out, so I can't really complain too much. And then we have 2 pockets on either side here, one on the left, one on the right, and you can put your phone, wallet, whatever in there because you do have better access to this. But as I mentioned earlier, this has so much stuff inside of it right now that this is not gonna close easily. So again, I didn't have this issue when I packed typically how I packed, but right now this is just not, like I had to really put it like, I had to set it on its side and push down on it to get it to close. So I'm gonna pop that open again and show you that while it's standing up like this, because I have so much stuff inside the main compartment, which we're about to show you, I cannot close this easily. Like it's just not happening for me here. I'm really exerting myself to close this and I can't, but we're finally able to get it closed when we kind of like shove it down. And again, I think that's more on me for packing a lot into this, but I don't think I packed more than most people pack inside of here. As you're gonna see, I don't have that much stuff in here. There are a few larger items that if I do take those out, this works just fine, but just something worth mentioning that if you are a heavy packer, you're going to struggle with that. And that's your laptop in there, so you don't really want to be banging on this thing. But again, it just depends how you pack and how much stuff you're gonna put inside here and how big that stuff is. So once we get into the main compartment, you can see how I packed, see if that's similar to how you pack, to see whether or not this front pocket design is one that'll work seamlessly for you. Obviously I can get it closed and I kind of figured out how to make it work for me, but not as seamless as I hoped it would be to get this closed when you have a full pack. But as I mentioned, this only happened when I really packed it out. But overall, very happy with having this pocket because you can stow things in there as a dedicated laptop compartment, which most rolling luggage that I've dealt with does not have. And there are versions from LEVEL8 that don't have this pocket, so if you did the internal organization inside, you can get one of those that doesn't have the front pocket and still get that internal organization, and it might be a little bit cheaper too. But that's enough rambling. Let's move on. So I have pre-opened the zippers here so I can just kind of flop this open. As you can see, we have, rolling luggage. This is probably kind of what you expected, and this is kind of a design that we've started into reviewing a lot of rolling luggage here, and this is a design we're pretty familiar with. We have a compression style organizer over here, and then a flap that you can get underneath that also has organization on the top on this side. So lots of rolling luggage use this. This is nothing new, but let's see LEVEL8's take on it. So over here we have an adjustable strap here. As you can see, I was able to undo that pretty easily, tighten it up pretty easily too. This little bit of extra material is I guess it's a little bit annoying, but you're not really constantly getting in and out of this anyways. And once you get to your destination, you don't need to compress anymore, so you can probably just pop it open using the buckle there. It is something that's worth noting is, okay, I got it super tight exactly how I want it, but now it's really hard for me so you kind of have to do this every time. You have to loosen it a little bit, secure it, and then tighten it. So that's just something worth noting, I think. We're gonna pop it open. Got a camera cube in here. I think this might be one of the causes of the issue over here. This is a very big camera cube, and it does come over the lip here just a little bit, but there is extra space over here. Like, you're supposed to be able to do that, at least in my opinion, because there's a little bit of a lip here, but then you have a little bit of a lip on the inside over here. Kind of hard to show you. There is a lip there. So this closes no problem. I have no issues opening and closing this thing. It's like just a non-issue for me, but because that secondary compartment does share space over here, this is pushing into this space, this is pushing into the secondary compartment, and that's causing the secondary compartment not to close. So this is one of the issues. I think the shoes too, because the shoes do pop out a little bit, and this is kind of how I always store shoes. I guess I maybe could have avoided it by going like this, but then I'm wasting space in both of these toe areas. So that's my assessment of the issue anyways. So as you can see here, no organization here, no pockets or anything like that, just a big open space for you to stow your gear. This compression area, I should note that something for me personally, I guess I'm not gonna say I don't like it, it's just not my preference, is that when these are on the top here, you can't really cinch things down that aren't as tall as that lip. So if you had smaller stuff here, this isn't gonna really compress anything, but most of the time you're gonna be packing this out anyway, so having them at the top is helpful. And it's easier to access them too, so these can't really get hidden underneath. You can kind of just pull them up like that. But moving over to the next side over here, we have these 2 pockets here. We have one that's crafted for mesh, so you can see what's inside of there. So I have a little passport organizer in there, and then one that you can't see through, so I have my tech inside of here. Because I don't really need to see my tech, but seeing the passport organizer is a nice thing to be able to see, because you want to see your passport and make sure that you have it when you're getting ready to go. Moving down here, I just have my cables. Leave one more. Don't know where it went. Here it is, 3 cables. A battery bank from Anchor, big boy, and then my 2 wall chargers here. So I was able to, when I took this on a trip, get rid of my tech pouch in favor of this. I didn't need a bunch of tech stuff. Let me do this before it gets too unraveled there, because I didn't really need a bunch of tech, so I was able to just put this inside of here, and then that worked for me. But if you bring a bunch of tech, you might not be able to just use this for tech. You could also use this for clean socks and underwear and dirty socks and underwear, because this one is obviously has the mesh, so stink can get out, and this one is the liner material. So if you put dirties here, it's not going to be as easy for smells to get out of there than this one up here. Well, underneath the flap, this pops over. No organization here or anything like that. But then you just have a open space here. So when I first started using this, I was a little bit, just throw these out of the way, surprised that there wasn't as much space here, but then I realized, again, we have that front pocket. So the organization, I can feel it right here. You guys can probably see it a little bit too. That is the organization for the front pocket. So that space is eating into your main compartment space, whereas if you've used one of these before without a front compartment, you're not going to have as much space here because of your laptop and your phone and the padding as well. You have to think about the padding that is taking up some of that space too. So personally for me, it didn't matter very much because I'm typically not completely filling this area up. Sometimes I am over here if I'm, again, bringing a big camera cube and shoes, but just something to think about, that you have that secondary compartment, but it's eating into the space that you typically have in your main compartment. So now that that is all said and done, let me pop this closed real quick and show you that. Pop that open, easy open and close. So it's really just a, too much stuff inside there issue, but you can get around it by not packing too much in there like I did. Or just, I guess it depends how you pack and what works for you. So there you have it, the Level 8 Roadrunner Pro carry-on. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.